Welcome back to the IBJJF Podcast. My guest today is four-time world champion Victor Hugo. Victor, how are you doing today?
Doing great, man. Doing great. We're feeling still kind of wow, why did I do? How did I do? How was that possible? The best day possible. In finishing that worlds. I would think the best weight that I could think of. Like if I could dream of a weight that I would win a world championship division absolute, that would be the weight I would dream. So it's cool to actually making dreams become reality, and just living the dream pretty much.
You've had such an incredible 2023 so far. I thought we'd start with the Brasileiro before we get into the Worlds. You won double gold there, went down to Sao Paulo. You had 7 matches, 6 submissions in both of your final matches, the open class and the ultra heavy. So why don't you tell me about your performance at the Brasileiros and how you felt about that?
As I think I've said in all the interviews, I think that kind of set me up for Worlds. Like my campaign at Worlds wasn't much different from Brasileiros because I was able to finish both finals, and I felt pretty comfortable as far as like timing of the match, which I think plays a big role in like black belt division, because black belt division everyone's trying to like score and like maintain their score. Once you have a lead, it's really hard to beat that person's lead. You have to work super hard. So the rhythm and the pace, I was able to like set myself and like feel great about it at the Brasileiros. And man, as I've said before, what a nice place to compete at. I plan on repeat there more often, compete in Brazil and then compete Worlds. I think that was amazing. I think some other people might start joining me on that too. So I might be bringing like more. I would say like more competitors into the black belt division since they saw what I did at Brazilian Nationals, and I think that's what it's about, right? You want to set the bar high, which is going to elevate the whole sport. What I think one of my plans is to like repeat what I did as a brown belt. If people know what it is as a brown belt, they probably know what I'm talking about. Double Grand Slam. I think that's a goal that I have as far as like IBJJF. But it's pretty crazy to start the Double Grand Slam with the Double Grand Slam at Worlds. So I think like I'm off to a good start. And now my situation as far as like my situation of like being legal here in America and all that's all set up. So I think I'll probably be joining Euros and Pans next year in order to look for that in Brazilian Nationals, in order to look for that Double Grand Slam. I think that's one of the plans for next year. And man, yeah, just happy, overall. And as far as like Brazilian Nationals, I think the energy there, being able to be in Brazil, see my family compete in front of people that never saw me competing before. That was one of my main goals, to compete in Brazil. Like I think I need to go back to Brazil and compete there again, because a lot of people don't know me. They just know me through internet. They never saw me compete live, and I think a lot of people enjoyed it, and they saw how high the level of jiu-jitsu in Brazil is, because the Brazilian national champion was the absolute world. They won the absolute world, so it was pretty amazing.
Yeah, there's one match in particular that was really incredible. All your matches were great, but the match with Boom Boom was incredible, where you got that knee bar. Tell me about that match and just how hyped you were after you got that submission finish.
Yeah, actually going back on all my matches this year, that's one of the 2 matches that I got scored on. I didn't get scored, I think, in 16, 15 matches, and that match I was scored on around the beginning. He has really good double legs, and he was able to get my leg, and he had a really good score lead really towards the end, and he was playing smart. He's a really hard guy to like do stuff to, really big, athletic. So man, as soon as I got to that leg, I was like, I have made this happen before. I'm gonna make it happen again. So it was just amazing. I think I've never able to do that move in Brazil, so it's pretty good to people see like me getting the classic VH style knee bar back in the homeland.
That was amazing. Another couple matches. You had 2 matches with Victor Hugo. He's a competitor who's had really great results in the past, took a little break from competition, but he came back for Brasileiros, looked really good in all the tournaments leading up to it. Talk about your matches with Hugo as well.
Yeah, man, Honor is like, I think if he takes like a 10-year break, he's still going to come back like as tough as he is, because he has such a solid game for black belt, has competed against big names. I think whenever you compete at such big stages like Brazilian Nationals, competing against world champions, that kind of gives you like extra confidence. I could see that he was pretty confident throughout the competition. He had some tough matches, but he never like lost his composure. Like he won, I think, one match by referee's decision, but his composure didn't change. He looked like he meant business, and it was the matchup that I was looking for the most. I think I probably said that during an interview or something. I wanted to fight him because as I was like a blue belt, he was already a black belt competing at a high level. So I'm like, man, I wish I could fight that guy one day. He had to take a break, and I think it was the best stage possible. Two big dudes, two Victor Hugos competing in Brazil. He also is Victor Hugo, so the battle of Victor Hugos, and it was amazing. The first match was pretty tough. He had the lead on me, I think, by advantage or something, and I had to look. I just kept looking for the win all the way to the end. I was able to use a little bit of my wrestling. I took him down, and for the second match, I think I was able to rise to the occasion of absolute finals and just put out a show. I got a submission. I was able to bring him to my game right away, and yeah, made it happen.
So like you said, you were able to carry that momentum from Brasileiros, that incredible performance, into the Worlds. What was really interesting about this year is at the Europeans, we had Kynan win the open class. At the Pans, it was Nicholas. Brasileiros, it was you. So we had 3 different open class champions in the 3 major tournaments. What were your expectations for the open class and for the ultra heavy division going into the Worlds? Were there certain opponents you were expecting to face?
Yeah, for last year Worlds, I didn't do as good as an absolute, all right? Because I think for the Worlds, I'm not sure. I didn't do any absolutes and any majors last year. But one thing that changes between a brown belt and a black belt absolute is the time. A couple of people they don't think it's a big deal, but the absolutes for black belt they start early in the morning, Saturday,
Yeah.
and you just gotta activate your body and be ready to go by 9. You cannot, you cannot I don't like to be awake 1 hour before my fight. So a year before I didn't do that, but I didn't feel as ready whenever the absolute started because literally I think my first fight last year for the absolute was Roberto Jimenez, which is a guy that moves a lot. So it's kind of like a huge wake up in the body. So I kind of didn't feel as good. The time of the absolute kind of changed. I wasn't ready for it because I haven't done any major absolute yet. I haven't done any major of the absolute. I was really used to the brown belt absolutes, which you fight division, then recover, then you go back to the absolute. So the black belt absolute and majors is different. And this year I came more prepared. I felt really warm. I feel ready to go. I felt ready to go early in the morning, and I think that's what set me up. Also, that's what helped me for be such in good zone during the whole absolute bracket.
Yeah, your absolute semifinal, I believe. Yeah, semifinal was against Kynan Duarte. I'm sure that's a guy that you were anticipating fighting. Like we said, he had that incredible performance at Europeans. I think he had 7 fights, 7 submissions. He's looked really good in 2023. Were you preparing specifically for Kynan? And can you tell me about that match too?
Yeah, I wasn't preparing specifically for him because I wasn't sure if I was going to face him finals or semifinals. I didn't know how the brackets would play out, so maybe he could fight Eric on the semi on the other side. I wasn't sure how the black bracket was going to play out, so I wasn't sure I was going to fight him or Eric. So
Yeah.
I was prepared for both. I think the training camp that I had, we were able to cover all the things that I needed in order to perform. I had an amazing camp. I was able to go to Oklahoma to train Rafael. I had a couple of guys coming to Austin and train with me. People traveling from all around the world to help me do this camp. So I felt pretty ready, ready. And I think what changed the most was the ability that I had of keeping the same pace, the same rhythm throughout the whole match. I didn't slow down 1 minute, and I think that played a big role against Kynan because Kynan he's so good at scoring and maintaining leads that I've said before. So as I had the lead on him, I think I did a really good job on maintaining my lead by just being offensive. I think I was able to score only one advantage, but throughout the whole match, I think we went out of the box probably 6 times just because I was just pushing forward, and pushing forward. And I think that also made the time run by quicker. If I just tried to hold the match down or slow him down, that probably he would be able to get the win. But I just kept going forward. And I think that was one of the secrets for me to get the win on the match.
Yeah, you mentioned you won that match by only 1 advantage. I think you scored it pretty early in the match, but did you feel like you were in control for most of that match, leading the pace of it?
Yes, I think I was in control because anytime he tried to attack, I just tried to attack too. So, with size and technique, I was able to get the best of the transitions. So I think that was one of the things, keeping control of the match by just pushing the pace and leading the rhythm. Anything that he tried to do, I would counter and be more physical about it and use a little bit more also of technique and leverage. So I think that's kind of what helped me stay ahead on that match.
So the win in that match got you to the open class final. You also were in the ultra heavy final earlier that day. Ultra heavy final was another great match. A lot of people were looking forward to. You and Marcus
What was
Scooby.
very interesting about the semifinals against Canada, I forgot to mention, is like
Yeah.
when would someone think that ultra heavy would win the semifinals of the absolute by doing a beer bolo?
Yeah.
I got my head to mention beer bolo, right? So that's also history. Let's look at
Since
this stats. Let's look at when was the last who was the last ultra heavy to beer bolo his win, beer bolo his way to the finals of the absolute.
it's believable because it's you and because of your guard and how flexible you are, but you're the only ultra heavy who does stuff like that. But yeah, let's talk about the ultra heavy final. You face Marcus Scooby. Like I was saying, amazing competitor. He, I believe, is 2022 Pan champion. A lot of people were looking forward to this match. Tell me about the ultra heavy final with Scooby.
The ultra heavy final was kind of like, unpredictable for me because Scooby is a really good guy, but he didn't fight Brazilian nationals because I think he was injured. So I didn't know how healed up he'll be for Worlds because he was there at Brazilian national, but he didn't compete. But he looked pretty ready, and he had the tough names on his name of his side of the bracket. His side of the bracket, it was kind of hard to see who would be coming, but we fought before. I know Scooby for several years, and he's an amazing competitor. He has built such good momentum in Brazil too. I was watching his fights in Brazil. He was being pretty dominant on the opens and the other tournaments he competed prior to the Worlds. So what I was ready to do is like not letting him like get ahead of the match. That was, I think, my whole like mantra, like my whole goal for this tournament, because I think like sometimes that's what kind of like I struggle the most because time starts to run by quicker, and I feel kind of like that's when they tend to give more trouble. And I know Scooby has really good start of the match. If you watch his matches, he's really good at the start of the match. Like he's really good at scoring first and like keep going forward, keep it going forward. So what I did first is just like pull him right into my game. We kind of ended up on a 50-50. I put him on the 50. I was the one that started to put him on a 50-50. But as we get through there, I was kind of stuck there too. I was like, man, I'm trying to get up, but I really can't because the position is so tight. But I was able to like kind of like get out 50-50 and be on top. But I think I kind of like moved too fast and I tried to pass and I didn't establish the sweep. So I was winning by one advantage. And after the reset, I was able to bring him right into my game again, which is the close guard. In the close guard, I was trying to be patient, like kind of like set up the attacks with patience, being patient, because a lot of times they explode out and you lose all the progress that you made in the close guard. So I was being patient. I know the crowd was kind of like impatient. They were kind of, let's go fight. But on my mind, I was like, no, I'm going to make it happen. Just got to be patient, because, it's a black belt final. So it's 10 minutes. The guy did that awesome work in order to get to the finals. He beat such like tough opponents on the other side. So I have to be really precise in my approach. So that's what I had in mind, getting him one of my favorite positions and just like be kind of like systematic with how they're gonna attack him. And I pulled that triangle and I just got the finish. He was able to defend it. I think I was able to gain inch by inch and not going back, just make progress throughout the whole match.
Yeah, tell me a little bit more about the arm lock finish because it was pretty unique. You had his elbow trapped, and then you kind of grabbed his wrist and lifted it up towards the ceiling. Is that a finish that you do often?
Mm-hmm. That finish, I always like. I have such long legs, so for omoplata, that's one of my favorite things to do too. Like for omoplata, I always try to get the arm bars. I think I have like a good sensibility to feel like where your elbow is, where the tip of the elbow is. So during training, like I'm always like playing with new stuff as far as like controlling the small joints, and I really like to do arm bars for the triangles because whenever you have a triangle, you have the head and the arm isolated. So within the triangle, you have such an easy chance to isolate the arm itself because you have two hands free. And when it comes to triangle, also that's a move that you can kind of like sometimes you can wear your legs out if you try to choke them too hard. He was doing a good job of angling himself out of the choke, but I was able to, like control two hands against one and like force him onto the armbar. I've never done that exactly armbar in the competition, I think, but I have done some different armbars from the triangle in other competitions, So I think it's just more like staying attached to the concept of like attacking the arm from the triangle, and from there you're able to figure new stuff as you're applying training. And as I said, it's not really hard because the head and the arm will be there already. So all you gotta do is like use your two hands in your thighs and try to find a good angle to like attack the arm. I think I even used my neck over there
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a really beautiful finish. That was your fourth submission of the Worlds. Then you went into the open class final. You fought Eric Muniz. It was really cool because we got to see you have all these matchups that we were looking forward to: Scooby, Kynan, and then Muniz. So going into the match with Eric, he has a pretty unique game. He was using that lapel grip a lot to just have control of the guard and sweep, and he was doing that very effectively against all his opponents. Was that lapel position something that you prepared for coming into the Worlds?
Yes, I kind of like it's kind of hard to prepare for that because Eric is, as you said, he's kind of unique on his game.
Yeah.
So I don't really have anyone that play his game the exact way that he does. And also, I have fought, I don't know, I have probably like 80 matches as like black belt. And I've been competing high level for a long time. And I've never felt someone like him that he can create like off balancing for such like weird positions. You know, he can just step in the lapel and be in a really awkward position and off balance you. So I think that's one of his best skills. He's really good at sweeping and off balancing people from awkward positions. So it's really hard to kind of like reproduce that in training. What I can reproduce in training is the things that I'm good at, which is like trapping the legs, you know, having a good pass and maintaining good balance. On that finals, he was able to off balance me, but as you off balanced, on my mind, I wanted to, you know, like really brute, like give it back right away with a sweep or actually like attack or something. I was aiming more for upper body, but the weight that I got under his leg was able to control both of his legs right away, you know. And he has really long legs, and I think the fact that he had the lapel kind of like was what was kept the position even more tighter, you know. So I was able to come up with that cool lapel counter right onto my game again. So I think like sucking people into my game was a big part of like my performance of Worlds. And as I was able to trap both of his legs there, I just used the concept that I haven't used for like 3 years now as a black belt, which is like the knee bars. I had my hip angled out to a perfect spot. And my idea of stacking the legs was because he has long legs, but his legs are not as like thick. They're not like as huge, which sometimes make it easy for you to escape leg entanglements, you know. So what I did was stack one leg on top of the other. So by doing that, I made his legs like bigger. So it'd be harder for him to escape the leg entanglement, and that's how I got the finish. Like that's the whole idea. Like in my, I still don't know how my mind thought about all that like so quickly, but that was my process of like thinking on whenever that happened, because I have followed him before. I tried to attack his legs, but he's so flexible, and you know, as I said, his legs, he's athletic, but his legs are not as big, so he's able to like pummel his legs out so easily. So stacking one on the top of the other doesn't allow you to do that, because now you're trapped, and plus I had a really high bite on the hip, so it was just the perfect setup for the perfect moment, you know.
Yeah, that was such a nice finish. And it was your second knee bar finish in a black belt open class final. You got the one at the Nogi Worlds against Cyborg, and then you get this one against Eric. So talk about the evolution of that knee bar. You said you've been doing it for about 3 years. How has that technique evolved in your game over time?
Well, I think what happened is I'm not always searching for any trainer to repeat the same sequence from the same setup. I'm always trying to play with different scenarios and trying to make the position happen, you know?
Yeah.
I think against Cyborg, the position happened for a 50-50 position, and against Bonbon too. But during training, sometimes I'm going to be in a different position, like single X, or I don't know, maybe X guard. I'm going to try to be searching for the same knee bar, like where are the different entries that I can find. And that was just what happened, you know, like the entry is different, and the kind of like the mechanics of the finish, they were not much different. I had one leg under my armpit, and I bridged, and I kept my knees together. The only thing about different was I was stacked one leg on top of the other. But for my other finishes, what was different too was the entries, you know. So I think that's what I like to do during my training. I try to be creative and versatile, you know, dynamic. What are the different ways that I can get onto a leg? Can I get it from upper guard? Can I get it from half guard? Can I get it from X guard? So I think that makes training fun, because when you train something at a high level, a lot of times it's not going to be fun. You're going to have to show up and do the same work every day. But within the training, you can make some stuff fun. You can like use your creativity, you know, use your training partner for different things. Sometimes I can train with you, and I know that I can get to X guard with you with easy. But I know you're really good at defending 50-50. So I might have to find a new way to get to 50-50 to you. So that's what I try to implement on my training. I try to be really dynamic. And as I'm definitely the biggest guy in the training room, so I can't really use strength and only my size in the training room. And that's something that sometimes overlook. Like whenever I win a match, I go look at the comments, and they're like, of course, he's huge. But that's not only what counts, like there's the guys that are bigger than me in my division. I'm still able to excel because of my skills. So I think keeping the mindset for the training room is what plays a big part on like how I was able to evolve my technique so much. It was like, I know I'm the biggest guy in the room, but I can't use that as my biggest strength. I gotta use my technique. So what are the ways that I can train? Make training fun and efficient?
Yeah, you've definitely shown that you have an extremely high technical level in all your matches. And one thing you've talked about that I want to touch a little bit more on is you said that you didn't want to fall behind in any matches this year because a lot of times when you fall behind against a high-level black belt, it's really hard to recover those points. I know you've done really well when you've fallen behind in matches before, you've gotten submissions, but what kind of prompted you to go into that strategy for this year's Worlds to not fall behind on points?
My final at last year's Worlds?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I think
funny.
last year, I kind of like almost gave everyone a heart attack. So this year, that was like my main plan. Like, no, I'm going to start, I'm going to be ahead, I'm going to finish ahead. So that was like a big mindset, and that was one way of me to look back at a performance at Worlds and see what can I do better,
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what plays a big role in like fighting the biggest stage and maintaining, like a world, be a world champion not for once, but like, for more than once. What are the tweaks that you can make in your performance that can make you better? I could very well come in with the same last year's performance mindset, and maybe I would succeed, But what I went back to the lab and I was thinking about it, man, I can't let that happen again, The guy is high level, I was able to use a lot of heart, but I don't have to use that every match. So what are the things that I can like? What are the tweaks that I can make? The changes that I can make that will, make my performance better for next year. So I think that's something that I was able to display as, and that's something that I was able to talk about. Previously in all the podcasts and interviews, people were saying like about my finals last year was, and I said, yeah, that was amazing, but I hope I don't have another finals like that, because it was really tiring, like really stressful. But I think now I kind of went to both ends of like a victory. Like, of course, there's more than it, but splitting both is like you start losing and you win towards the final. And this a couple of the matches this year, I started winning. I was able to maintain the win all the way to the end. So like keep it steady, So I think that's what I'm leading towards, like towards precision and towards controlling matches. And I think what requires you to do is a lot of physicality, a lot of athleticism, but a lot of technique too. So you gotta mature your technique and be ahead of others in order to do that.
We talked a bit about some of your stats from 2023 before we started recording, so I'm just going to read them off. You were 15-0. You had 11 submissions, over a 73% submission rate. Every single final that you were in, you had 2 ultra heavy finals, 2 open class finals. You got the submission. So how happy are you with those statistics?
Man, super happy, I think I started my year pretty late competition this year. I was still like getting shape. I was helping my training partners compete to pants, and I was just like waiting for the like, man, I think I'm ready. I was just waiting for the perfect time, And I think competing in Brazil, starting the season in Brazil was perfect for me. So, looking back and sitting down and like planning everything was good. Like planning the training. And everything went accordingly, so it's just like good feeling, But what I also think is like I'm not satisfied, I wanna look for the next thing. What am I able to reach? Trying to reach my full potential, and what does that look like? So next year I plan on like be back stronger for Worlds. I think I gotta train harder than anyone else because now I hold the crow. Like I won absolute and division, and basically I'm also competing against me. Can I do better next year than I did this year? It's going to be pretty hard because I did really good this year. So it's a good thing for me to have on the mind, and it's what pushed me forward.
So I know in the past you've dealt with some injuries, and I feel like we saw a different Victor Hugo in competition this year. Your numbers kind of speak to that. So can you talk about just finally competing healthy? Were you competing healthy, and how much of your injuries in the past would hold you back a little bit?
Yes, I think this tournament was I feel the tournaments that I was able to compete pain-free, about 8 months ago, I started new training with a power athlete team, which is a strength and conditioning company. And I was able to meet this guy, John. He helped me a lot with my injuries on just getting me stronger, I think that was a missing point on my performances. And that was something that was not like hidden. Like a lot of my coaches and my like my mentors do say, man, whenever you get stronger and you get healthier, you're gonna be a problem. And I think it was just a matter of time meeting the right persons and following the right protocol, And I think all the things lined up for this year, and it's what helped me like bring my game to the next level. But as far as injuries, I have competed injured before. It's not a good feeling, but also I was in a position where I felt like I couldn't miss the chance because it was my first year, my second year of black belt. You're so excited about all the opportunities that you have, so I didn't want to miss out on these opportunities. But I also wasn't feeling 100%, which is my fault. But I think throughout that time I was able to build another set of skills within that. The resilience, the fighting the pain. Be able to develop new strategies and new games. So I think each part, each cycle of your life has a meaning, and that part where I was injured and I still pushing myself to train and compete at the highest level was something. It taught me something, and from now on, I think like I'm pain free. I feel healthy. I feel like my athleticism is being just like going up, and I'm not even close to where I want to get, and I think I've just now scratched the surface. So the future looks bright.
Yeah, it was such an amazing performance both at Brasileiros and at Worlds. So hopefully you can stay healthy and pain-free for all your next competitions as well.
Thank you. And I think sometimes, like people like think that why because they're injured they can't train jiu-jitsu no more. I think depending on how severe the injury, they're probably correct. But I was injured, but I still could do some stuff. And I think being able to be open-minded and not use this stuff that I usually use because I'm injured, have to use this stuff, have to be comfortable on a position that before it would be uncomfortable. What was the main thing? And once I got past that, I acquired all those skills. So now I can build more skills being healthy. So I think that's what's exciting about this process. And man, yeah, just progress, really great.
That's amazing. So let's change gears a little bit. I want to talk about Six Blades Lake Travis. That's an academy that you're teaching at. You have a lot of students. I know you're balancing your teaching with your competition schedule. Tell me about that academy and how it's been going so far.
Everything's been great. This was a project that we came up probably 2 years ago. 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago. That's whenever I was kind of like coming off the injury. It kind of take time, because the injury that I had that was building up for a couple of years, probably like 8 years. So whenever it struck me hard. So I probably had to dedicate like 3 years just onto that. It took me a hard time to build it to 100%. But meanwhile, we were trying to work on different areas. One of the things that I think about when it comes to career is I'm not going to be able to do this forever. And how can I pass the knowledge and all the experience that I've lived through on the mats to other people, And I think that kind of like I like to do and kind of lights me a little bit is like be able to like share the experience with kids, I don't plan on like our program is pretty new, but I don't really want them to be world champion. I just want to use the experience that I have on the mats and also have the mats to share it to them and maybe make them a better citizen. Maybe make them understand that some days you're gonna lose, some days you're gonna win. But what really matters is for you to push forward. You're not gonna have the best conditions always, but you gotta have a good attitude and push forward. Have the right people surround you, and that's the thing that's interesting about like being able to teach. And also I think it puts me in a spot where I have to hold myself into a high standard. Because I'm here, I'm building citizens. So the way that I hold myself on the mats, it has kind of to be the same way that I hold myself off the mats. Otherwise, it's not gonna match what I'm saying. So being a leader is something interesting. I'm a firm believer that you gotta lead by example. So that's what I try to do here. And it's just good because throughout time you also start building like a little army. Like people are there for you. They're excited to see you watch. And it's such a good thing. It pushed me forward too. It's like extra motivation. Of course, I have family, I have friends, but having this school and the people that I was able to meet at my school, like that keep walking in, we were able to build that great family. So it's just something that pushed me hard to competition. That sometimes can be challenging. Some people they're competing, they don't want to like spend time teaching because I understand like it can be hard. Like you have to be thinking about your opponents, you have to be thinking about your diet. your training, your conditioning, and boom, you have to be thinking about business. And then through the business, there's different stuff that you got to do. When it comes to jiu-jitsu, you have kids program, you have beginners program, you have customer care. So being on top of all those things, I think it helps me being a better athlete too, with time management and all that, and that fulfilling at the end of the day that you had that you give your all, that you like, man, I go back home, I trained, I worked my business. I made some people days better just because they did jiu-jitsu. They learned a cool technique, they learned a cool triangle, and that made the day better. It's just like a good feeling. And sometimes that's what makes me wake up in the morning like, man, let's go for one more day. That's going to be a great day. So I think it's a good combination. I don't think everyone needs to have that. I don't think that's the path that everyone should follow, but it's a really fulfilling process, and it's a really fulfilling journey for me.
You're still very young. Hopefully you have many more years left of competition at the highest level. But do you feel like it gives you some peace of mind knowing that not only do you have your competition career, but you also have your academy to fall back on, and you're already preparing for that next stage of your life?
100%, and I think that I'm a firm believer that what's going to happen in the future, it's by what you're doing now. A lot of people think about the future, but what are the things that you're doing now that's going to set you up for the future? And I think the school right now, it's something like that. It's something that I'm healthy enough to do both now and later on, as you said, whenever my career ends, that's probably what I'm gonna spend the time on, was like managing schools, building programs. And for me, it's like how can I make jiu-jitsu welcoming for everyone? That's my main mantra. I don't have a pro team in my school. Maybe I'll have one day, but for me, it's like that guy. He doesn't, like, a guy walks in, he doesn't know anything about jiu-jitsu. How can I give him the best jiu-jitsu experience? And what do I mean by that? Real live environment, live vibes. You get a good workout in. You learn about the martial arts. You learn about the history of jiu-jitsu, and mainly you learn how to defend yourself. And plus, in a really cool way, where you get to do with friends. So just a good environment. I think that's the main thing about how I run my school. And when it comes to future, that's also one thing, right? Because I think having someone like me leading a business as a school is something kind of unique and something cool for the future world champions in like 10 years. Like Victor Hugo did this way, some other guy did other way, but you can follow which way you want, and you can see how each one are doing at a certain time. So I think it's kind of interesting, like this new generation of champions for IBJJF. We're trying to make it really exciting. A couple of us are doing things differently, but there's a lot of options for people to follow. I'm just trying to do my work, and I think that will attract eventually the people that I wanted to attract.
Yeah, you're doing an amazing job. It's been so fun to watch you in 2023. Thank you so much for your time today. What do you have coming up, Victor?
Thank you. I don't have anything lined up yet. I want to stay busy. I want to, like, fight more gi. As you said, I have 15 matches. I think I still have space for a couple more matches this year. And I think I want to give people the fights that they want. Like a lot of people will be asking me what's next. I think that means that they want to see me competing as soon as possible. Yep. So for sure, I'll deliver that. Everything's great. I'm still pain-free, injury-free. For as far as now, I'm just helping my training partners prepare. Like they're running the IBJJF circuit. So there's American Nationals coming up. There's Austin Open coming up. There's World Masters coming up. So I'll be prepared to jump in on a fight pretty soon. So just be tuned.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Victor, for your time. We really appreciate it.
IBJJF. Good talking to you.
Yeah, congrats on all your success in 2023. Thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you guys soon. Take care.
Yeah.